with the breast cancer, especially the advanced breast cancer, and with our colleagues from the oncology. It's the radiological evaluation of complete pathological response after chemotherapy of breast carcinoma. It is published research, it's our research. In Egypt, breast cancer is the most common cancer among women, representing 18.9% of the total cancer cases. In the year 2012, the age-adjusted estimated annual incidence of breast cancer in Egypt, according to the results of our national screening project that was published in the ECR, was 2.1%. Primary or neoadjuvant chemotherapy followed by local regional management, either by surgery or radiotherapy, and post-operative systemic chemotherapy is now an accepted strategy for treatment of advanced breast carcinoma. More than 70% of patients achieve objective response, including pathological complete response remission in 10 to 25% of cases, and in many patients experience downstaging through the primary chemotherapy. Breast conservation is possible in 10 to 40% of patients with locally advanced breast cancer. To define pathological complete response, we define pathological complete response as complete disappearance of any invasive cancer cells in the excised breast tissue and lymph nodes after the end of neoadjuvant chemotherapy. The presence of residual DCIS or residual lobular carcinoma in situ did not affect our definition of pathological complete response. Radiological complete response is defined as complete disappearance of the tumor radiologically, is defined as radiological complete response, and is not an indication almost always of pathological complete response. Between 60 to 80% of patients who achieve complete radiological response, residual tumor cells were found in the excised tumor bed, while we may find complete pathological response in patients with some residual abnormality clinically or by radiologically. Until now, many studies have shown that physical examination, mammography, sonography provides an optimal evaluation of the lesion extent that do not allow accurate assessment of the pathological complete response or residual tumor size. Many previous studies have shown that MRI is the most reliable technique for evaluating residual tumor after neoadjuvant chemotherapy, although false negatives with small volume tumors were reported. The aim of our study, based on this, the identification of the most sensitive clinical and radiological method to pathological complete response, will be helpful in the patient management. So our study was designed to assess the complete pathological response after complete neoadjuvant chemotherapy by different available imaging modalities, including digital mammography, high-resolution sonography, dynamic MRI, and MRS, PET-CT, aiming to pick up the most sensitive modality. Our study was a multi-center prospective study, included 125 female patients were enrolled in the study. All were histopathologically proven as breast carcinoma, either by core needle biopsy, in all cases done before starting the neoadjuvant chemotherapy for histopathology and for receptor status. And all underwent full course of chemotherapy, including 3 cycles of FIC and followed by 3 cycles of docetaxel, and the hair is given in hair-positive, Herceptin is given in hair-positive cases. 25 out of the 125, meaning 20%, showed pathological complete response after complete neoadjuvant chemotherapy, indicated by the histopathological examination of their surgical specimen. So they have no tumor cells in the pathology specimen after examination. The pathological complete response, these cases which encountered pathological complete response was evaluated by digital mammography, high-resolution sonography, dynamic MRI, multi-phase dynamic series, either on the 1.5 or the 3 Tesla machine, MR spectroscopy, and PET-CT. In all patients, we put a metallic clip within the carcinoma before starting the chemotherapy in order to be able to follow the tumor and to diagnose the vanishing breast carcinoma. And preoperative wire localization was done to 18 out of 25 cases showing complete pathological response followed by conservative surgery. As you can see, this is the previous case. It has nothing, no abnormality was seen after complete chemotherapy, and the clip is seen for was marked by the wire, and this is the pathology specimen. The rest of the 7 cases underwent radical mastectomy because from the start they were inflammatory breast carcinoma and multicentric, and that was a contraindication against conserving surgery. We classified the results of our study into 2 groups. The group 1 including the 25 cases with the pathological complete response, and the group 2, the 100, the rest of cases which showed incomplete pathological response. And then we studied thoroughly the complete responders. Pathologically, I told before, it was no invasive cancer cells in the specimen. By mammography, it's complete disappearance of the lesion or residual asymmetric density without microcalcification or with microcalcification. By ultrasound, complete radiological response is defined as complete disappearance of the lesion, and by MRI, complete pathological response means complete disappearance of an image evidence of a mass, or by the kinetics change in the kinetic from type 3 curve or type 2 curve to type 1 and type 1A curves. For MR spectroscopy, pathological complete response is indicated by complete disappearance of the choline peak in previously high choline peak patients. This is the demographic data of group 1. As regards the mammography, 11 out of 25, meaning 44% of cases showed complete pathological response with no residual lesion, vanishing carcinoma. But 56% have residual asymmetric density with and without microcalcification by mammography. So in the majority of cases, digital mammography fails to diagnose complete pathological response. As regards the ultrasound, 68% of cases showed complete disappearance of the lesion by sonography, so the sensitivity of ultrasound was 68%. As regards the dynamic MRI, complete disappearance of an image evidence of a lesion was encountered in 23 out of 25 cases, meaning that the sensitivity of MRI to diagnose complete pathological response was 92%. This is before and this is after neoadjuvant chemotherapy. And as regards the kinetic, this is the case before and after. Here we have the mass did not disappear after chemotherapy, but it was completely necrotic by ultrasound, a very soft lesion, and by dynamic criteria, to assess dynamic criteria, there was a change from type 3 curve to type 1 and 2A curve in 24 out of 25 cases, meaning that the sensitivity of the kinetics was 96%. As regards the MR spectroscopy, in the breast is a very easy tool to monitor because we have a measurable something. We have a choline peak. We can measure the extent of the choline peak and the strength of the choline peak. So it's very nice in following the chemotherapy, before chemotherapy and after chemotherapy. This case was positive high choline peak in the spectrum and the complete disappearance after chemotherapy. The sensitivity of MRS alone without the MRI was 92%. As regards the PET-CT, uptake of carcinoma uptake, the FDG before chemotherapy, 24 out of 25 has high uptake of FDG before chemotherapy, with the exception of invasive lobular carcinoma. Invasive lobular carcinoma could be silent on PET-CT. PET-CT shows complete absence of FDG uptake in 21 out of 25 cases, meaning that the sensitivity of PET-CT in picking up complete pathological response was only 84%. However, we have to mention that we can also measure the SUV, and the positive cases may show low SUV, but this is not a sure sign of diagnosing complete pathological response. So for correlating the radiological complete response by different imaging modalities, the most sensitive was the dynamic MRI followed by the MRS. The sensitivity of digital mammography was in detecting pathological complete response was 44% compared to 68% by ultrasound, 96% by dynamic MRI, and 92% by MRS. For group 2, the false negative cases reported by digital mammography were 7 cases, ultrasound detected false negative cases about 5 cases, dynamic MRI 3 cases, and MRS 4 cases. This means that the CABA agreement was highest with MRI and MRS. This is the demographic data of, this is the sensitivity measures comparison between the different imaging modalities. We can notice that the sensitivity of MRI, the dynamic MRI was 96%, specificity 94%, positive predictive value 89%, and negative predictive value 99%, very high negative predictive value. For digital mammography, it was 44, 87%, 61, and 87 negative predictive value. And for MR spectroscopy, it was 92 sensitivity and specificity, and 97 negative predictive value, also very high, very important for the follow-up. So, based on these results, we can conclude that the most sensitive radiological method correlated with the pathological complete response were the dynamic MRI and the MR spectroscopy. Further studies using new modalities and larger number of patients is required to confirm our results. It was a combined work between our group with my dear colleagues Hisham Al-Ghazali and Dr. Shadi Elia Anis, Dr. Elia Anis, and Dr. Omar Zakaria, the surgeon, our surgeon, and it was recently published. Thank you very much for your attention.